Hello, and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm your scratched up CD host, Madelyn.
I'm your don't taste me host, Emma. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Now I do. Thanks for tuning into this week's show. It's my side quest. And this week I picked something actually sort of topical at Talk This. Usually our side quest ethos is to pick something that was topical like 3.5 months ago.
Yeah.
But this time I decided I don't care that we've already kind of done this. Let's talk about physical games media.
Yeah, so we did a topic on, like, ownership.
Yeah.
But it was side quest, like, number 96 or something. So I think that was literally, like, 150 side quests ago.
Yeah, pretty early into this side quest format, to be honest.
Yeah. So I feel like we had new things to say about it, considering.
Things have probably changed in the past, what is that, like 5 or 6 years?
Yeah.
The situation has deteriorated.
Yeah.
To be quite frank. So this week my podcast obviously inspired by Sony's announcement, I guess last week, that in 2028 they will stop making physical games.
Yes.
And thus the implication that the PS6, although the PS6 will not be here in early 2028, right?
I have no idea.
That's fair.
I have no idea what Sony would do. I can't imagine it being a smart financial decision, but maybe they think waiting on it is not a feasible financial position either. But my solution is they should not call it the PS6 and instead should call it the Vita 2.
Well, Emma lives in the real world. That's a real thing that's going to happen. Although, I don't know, like maybe, I did see a little bit of speculation online that some of the reason they're saying this is because the PS6 is going to be like Switch-like.
Yeah, that is what I've heard too. And so therefore will not have the ability to have a disk drive. And they're not going to switch to cartridges at this point.
Yeah, that would be a big... a big loss considering the founding of PlayStation was basically about discs.
But I mean, I just think that if they're making a Switch-like, they should just give up on the fact that people aren't going to keep their PS5 for another decade and just say it's a new thing. It's the Vita 2. It's your handheld one.
Yeah.
That's my educated advice.
I think they could call it the PSP 2.0 or something. I don't think they could call it the Vita 2. I think that affection for the Vita is not high.
But you know what I mean.
I think you could get away with the PSP 3D or something, but
yeah.
Anyway, Sony, that's my hot take. But yes, this coincided also with Sony announcing, like, just to underline how bad this is, that in the UK or Europe, I think, I don't exactly remember who this impacts, but in some major market, that also about 500 movies that people purchased because of a licensing deal are gone.
And also, speaking of the Vita, that the Vita stores and the PS3 store are ending service.
And, like, let's be very real. Those things are more or less impossible to access now. Anyway. You
could. You gotta go on your PS3 and get all the PS3 games that you want.
I know that, and thank God that I already have whatever my gun Yakuza game is called. I can't remember the title.
Dead Souls?
What? Dead Souls? Thank God. But when I bought that game, like, 3 years ago, the PS3 store already runs at such a snail's pace and you can only access it on a PlayStation 3. So it's more or less inaccessible already.
But it did just, the fact that they announced that at the same time was really like, guys, why are you tripping over your own shoes.
I mean, I do see the rationale of this is all going to be pretty bad, so let's just do it once. Let's just do one news cycle.
I guess so.
Like, the PS3 stuff has gotten pretty buried in the rest of it.
I'm very interested of, like, third-party companies that are, like, looking ahead at, like, the end of 2027 to release their game. And, like, the pressure that puts. Because there's, like, a hard deadline to get your game on a disc now.
Yeah.
If you delay your game past the end of 2027, it also means you're canceling your physical release.
No pressure on GTA 6,
unless
though.
you find, like, some other partner to work with, like Kingdom Hearts 4 is like, hey, fan game. Can you help
they're
us?
they're all in on Nintendo now, though, aren't they? I mean, it'll still come out.
You're right. It'll just have a physical Switch 2 release.
I mean, genuinely, maybe. No, so, of course, to get into the actual nuts and bolts of this has grim implications for games preservation, has eventually probably grim implications for ownership of things. But, in the nuts and bolts of this, as Sony has said, 80% of games purchases are made digitally now. And while I read plenty of articles that are about how, yes, but, like, the people that you piss off with this are the super fans. And those are kind of the people you least want to piss off when it comes to people organically promoting your games or spending the most money on your stuff. Like, I have to find what article I read this in, but it was, it's talking about, like, people who buy vinyls, right, and music fans.
Mm-hmm.
And so, those people generate a lot of revenue. And also, maybe even more importantly, generate a lot of, like, organic... it was an article in The Guardian about this PlayStation thing. That they say, what defines a superfan isn't just spend, it's social signaling, identity alignment, emotional investment, and community. These people don't just consume, they contribute, create, and amplify. So by doing this, you've pissed off the people who are, like, perhaps most invested, which is kind of bad.
I also am curious, like, there's a lot of games that are only digital because there are a lot of games.
Yep.
So if a game does have a physical release, I would actually be curious what the stats just on those look more like, which I don't know if that's anywhere. I saw in one of the articles that you were saying that there's, like, story focused and, like, family games tend to sell more like half and half, which makes sense to me.
You can imagine the kinds of games people are giving as Christmas presents.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I feel like that 80% of sales as digital number is a little misleading in how it's looking at it. And I imagine for a third-party company who apparently were not... They did not spread this among the industry ahead of time, that they were going to start doing this. I imagine they might not feel the same way, which is just, it's interesting to think about. Because I really do think there are games where the games that are releasing physically are selling still physically. It's just that there's not a physical contemporary for every game.
Well, the question then, though, is, I mean, if I'm Sony, I say, well, Grand Theft Auto 6 still has a physical edition.
Right.
But it's a card in a box.
Yeah.
And so it will be interesting. I mean, on one hand, right now, those sorts of, like, download card in a box things feel silly and cash grabby and ugh,
well,
right?
I mean, my impression of GTA 6 is it's literally a card in a box with a code on it.
Yes.
Like, you could say, like, it's basically the same thing as, like, Nintendo's game key cards, right? Mm-hmm. But I can still give a game key card to you when I'm done with it. No.
That's true. And my argument was, okay, if I'm a third party and I have, benevolent feelings about games and game preservation and the ability to pass things around, I might have feelings about this.
Sure.
But if I'm a third-party company just saying, oh no, I was kind of betting on my game having a display at GameStop.
Yeah.
It does seem like I would bet that physical sales are not disappearing. We're just going to have stupid empty boxes. Which,
I mean, I'll be
look,
interested
there's an
to
argument
see
for
how that
of its own.
sells. Like, is
will be
anybody
the
going to
test.
buy the GTA 6 physical edition?
No, but that's what I'm saying. That will be the test. I mean, counterpoint.
I mean, tons of people are going to buy GTA 6, don't get me wrong,
Yes.
but are the sales going to shift towards digital more extremely?
I mean, so what came to mind for me when I was thinking about this, though, was, like, yes, I agree. It seems dumb. And my gut feeling is, this is dumb. Nobody's going to buy something physical if there's not a disc. However, there are plenty of these articles that are like, oh, some of what I like about having a physical copy isn't even just, like, the actual ownership or whatever. It's having the book on my shelf. It's having the box that I can look at and that my friends can look at when they come. And it will be interesting to see if that is worth something to people. Look, so much more to talk about here. This is not me saying get rid of discs.
I mean, I agree with that, but part of the experience of that is that the disc is in there. I don't have a hollow spine of a book on my bookshelf that my friends can pull out and they can say, can I borrow this? So like, yeah, but there's nothing in it. So enjoy.
Look, I agree. I'm just interested to see if any of that sort of like, I want a box as a memento, status symbol, whatever.
I mean, I think there's probably still rooms for the collector's editions,
Mm-hmm.
but not just, I don't know about the standard physical copy.
Yeah. That said, for anyone worrying about GameStop, apparently they don't even really sell games anymore.
I've noticed.
And I don't mean that in the anecdotal way of anyone who's walked into a GameStop and gone, I guess they don't really sell games anymore.
Yeah. Me walking past the GameStop at the local mall every once in a while going, oh man, they've added more plushies.
It's so crazy that, like, I think of this is not where the GameStop is at our mall anymore, but where the GameStop was originally was then before that was like a card store called Gamekeeper. We would go and play Pokemon cards, or I at least would go with Dad and play Pokemon cards on the weekends. And it's crazy that we have just come full circle, that in the end, GameStop is really just going to be Gamekeeper selling really expensive Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
But yes, I read a GameSpot article also about, like, hey, they're killing discs. And evidently, like, in this most recent quarter or reporting period, whatever, games made up less than 20% of their revenue. They actually make the most on collectibles, no surprise, which is about 40%, or a little over 40%. And then a little under 40% is hardware and accessories. So GameStop's still making good money selling you PS5s and controllers, and those aren't going away, but not really making, that much on games relative to that. Half of that. So they'll probably be as fine as they ever are.
Nothing, at this point, what could kill GameStop?
Apparently nothing.
Literally nothing.
Also good to remember that, they're still putting out games that the PlayStation 4 can play. And so even if you were like, oh no, this is going to kill GameStop, look, what's this, even if a PS6 does come out in early 2028, we won't stop having people predominantly play other PlayStation 5s until, 2030, 2032?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just really not at a stage where I can even imagine the PS6 existing. I don't know.
Well,
I think it's more likely that Microsoft and Sony and not the whole companies, but Xbox and PlayStation just implode and they just give up on it.
Sure.
I don't know. That seems just as likely as the PS6 coming out and being successful.
I mean, obviously this is also, look, there's a lot of things that can motivate this. that like business practice wise that I think we can get into. But obviously something motivating this is the increasing costs right now related to data centers and whatever that have made everything about games manufacturing more expensive. Really everything about everything more expensive.
A very, very hot dog suit meme.
Yes.
We're all trying to find the guy who did this.
Yes. Exactly. And so, you know, it is more expensive to put something on a disc than it is to not, because there's a physical product involved and they don't charge more for it at this point. It's also like if you don't have a disk drive in your console, that's less expensive to produce and it gives you more space in it for like storage or whatever, I guess, other hardware. So you save a bunch of money.
They also they like sold out of the, you can get a attachable disk drive for your digital PS5 edition. They like sold out of those immediately following their announcement.
No surprise. Some buyer's remorse. So it's interesting timing on that regard, given that it feels to me obvious that what is happening here is some kind of desperate cost-cutting measure in the face of storage just costing exponentially more.
I mean, something I was thinking about just before this podcast is like, so I have a console because I don't really want to invest in like a PC, right?
Yeah.
I'm not interested in figuring out how to build it or spending a lot of money for someone else to build it for me.
Yeah.
I'm just not interested. And I also have a console because I can get physical games for it.
Right.
And so if they're going to release the PS6 and it doesn't have a disk drive, and realistically, even without a disk drive, with the way things are right now, it's going to be over $1,000.
Yep.
I'm just going to buy a Steam machine.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not buying either of those things for a while.
Yeah.
But like, if that's how the PS6 comes out and I want something more powerful for my TV that I can play games on, and neither of them have disk drives, I would just pick the Steam machine. What advantage is the PS6 giving me that I do not have, right?
Well, and it's interesting to consider what that means for Sony too, right? Are they selling? Is the PS5, does it sell at a loss right now? I know we researched this for a show and I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I feel like it was like the digital edition sells at a loss, or maybe this was Xbox. But of course, you know, everybody's games are everywhere now. But I guess I'm gonna rescind this. I was like, oh, maybe it doesn't matter. Like, if you're buying the game, who cares? But of course, what they want is to be getting the cut of the game on the PlayStation Store,
where they can do their variable pricing that they've been experimenting with.
Oof! I didn't even know about that, and I was reading about it.
Yep.
Disaster. Nightmare.
You know, you had one of these articles talking about like various reasons why digital has become more common, and one of them was like, well, everybody has internet now, which I did put a note there that was like big asterisks on that of everyone has internet.
To be clear, this was a Reddit thread specifically about PC gaming and why everyone was like really clowning on this guy in the comments. They were like, "Did you just wake up from a 20-year coma? Like, what's going on?" But I thought it was a fair informational question, and then it became clear this guy was like, "No, I just got a PC and I didn't know." And I'm like, "All right, weirdo. Did you just wake up from a 20-year coma?" But to be fair,
your mayor has never seen a Switch controller before.
Yeah,
just throwing that out there too.
I think he's lying. That's fine. He froze my rent. What do I care? I don't need my mayor to be a gamer.
I know, it's
probably better
funny
that he's not. If Zoran was a gamer, he would have been the wrong age at Gamergate. Who knows what we would have gotten.
You're right.
So thank God he's never seen a Nintendo Switch.
That's true.
Anyway, this was a Reddit thread specifically about PC games and why those games moved from being disc-based to being computer-based, or not computer-based, they've always been computer-based, to being download-based.
Yeah.
I think it is fair to say that the difference between people who have the kind of internet, you're right, big asterisk, but much larger proportion who have the kind of internet needed to download large games, 10 years ago than 20 years ago.
Yeah. It just, because I'm always reminded looking at this that, like, the PlayStation Network is technically only available in like 70 countries.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to access it from another country, you have to pick a region that's different from yours and use gift cards to put money on it. You buy a gift card and then you load that up because you can't put your actual local card on it.
Crazy.
And they've released PC games where you have to have a PSN, like cutting off more than half the countries of the world from playing their games for whatever reason. And so it's interesting to think about in a hobby that's getting more and more expensive, and a hobby that will be less available in over 100 countries coming soon, and everything else. It's just like they're just killing their audience very slowly to just people like you and I who happen to live in a country that's supported and happen to be well off enough to support having gaming for a hobby. And maybe that's what they want. I don't know.
I mean, they're a business, so that is what they want.
I mean, but at a certain point, but then killing physical games, like you said, also pisses off your whales, right?
No, I know.
Like, if they're just treating this like gacha treats stuff, aren't they wanting to support their whales?
I mean, I think they have to have made the calculation that the whales are going to keep buying expensive collector's editions that are sort of physical and come with the figurine or whatever, and that they don't really have to print the disc. I mean, so something, and maybe you can help me with this, because this is always something that when we get into this like discussion, when the industry gets into this discussion of CDs and the importance of there being physical media, here's where I get stuck. The ship has already sailed. The CD already can't play the game. And I know that there is the, okay, you can pass it around and borrow it element. Okay, agreed on that. But if we're talking about the importance of games preservation and that sort of thing, it's already not on the CD. Am I right about? I'm right about that, right?
For some of them, yeah.
For like most games, though, right?
I don't think it is as prevalent as a lot of people will make it out to be, actually.
Okay.
That for a lot of games, even if it's not fully patched or whatever, there is a version that is playable on the disc.
Okay, so then what's happening when I put in the disc, and this is something that became, I think, clear to me in reading about the differences between discs and cartridges, perhaps. The reason I can't play a game when I put the disc in is because it's having to copy to the hard drive so it can run at a speed that I would like it to run.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, see, that's something I
did
not
understand. Some discs do that. I think some discs are more like keys.
Yeah.
Most games have day one patches that are obviously not on the disc anymore.
Yeah.
But I do think, while the keys have become more prevalent, like, I think that people are exaggerating a little bit on how prevalent they are. I mean, I put in Rebirth came on 2 discs because it was on the discs,
Yeah.
So like things are still on discs as of two years ago.
Okay, I think that I misunderstand that as a consumer experience sometimes, because it feels to me like, oh, I can't just put my game in and play it. That means that not everything is on the disc. But as I learned, discs are really not the best way to store games anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. For various reasons.
Why would I know that?
Because discs aren't reliable for anything for various reasons, just on a physical level, even.
I just sort of assumed that the fact that we like sort of switched most games to discs meant that discs were better than cartridges. I mean, they seem cooler, right?
Sure.
So that was my assumption, perhaps, prior to this episode.
I think that the switch to discs happened because there was a point where discs were significantly cheaper than cartridge.
Yeah.
And you saw, I think that's during the period where even Nintendo switched to discs.
Yeah.
The Wii U used discs. Now, I think discs are still cheaper than cartridges, but not to the level that they used to be. And so Nintendo has gone back to cartridges, I think, for various reasons. But the more profit hungry, not that Nintendo's not profit hungry, but like they have an image that they maintain, right?
Yeah.
And just because the PlayStation has always used discs, right?
Yeah.
They don't have Nintendo probably had some existing infrastructure and internal knowledge on creating cartridge-like things for games, so they could switch back. But Sony has always made discs. And Sony as a company also prints discs for various things. They have a music industry. They do Blu-rays. And part of I was wondering if part of like the scale down of the disc thing, I think Sony has just been scaling down disc production in all aspects of its business.
Well, they're turning the factory into something else.
Yeah. Like this was like they have like just the last factories were working on mostly video game stuff, apparently.
Will be interesting to see if they regret that. I mean, certainly there is a look, not relative to the widespread use of streaming, but there's definitely been a big movement in music back toward physical stuff. And a lot of that is centered around vinyl, but like the kids are into cassette tapes now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is only a matter of time before the joy of the used CD store reemerges.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, technically you can still steal the stuff off the CD if you want and put it in your digital collection.
Well, technically I think you can still do that on iTunes. You can still burn CDs.
Yeah.
Not if you're using Apple Music, but like, yeah, there's no DRM to that. Anyway, to circle back around here, I did not realize that CDs are actually slow and bad for the kind of, what I'm saying is I don't understand how technology works at all.
Yeah. Fair.
But apparently CDs are pretty good for things like music and movies because you don't skip around with those very often, or if you do, it's in a pretty like defined way.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to with games where, look, I imagine that it's just all kind of like encoded on the CD in different spots. I'm sure that's actually how it works.
Bumps like a music box disc, right?
Correct. Kind of like a vinyl. But CDs are not very good at like jumping around to find different things that you need, which is of course exactly what happens in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no idea that meant that like if you're running a game off of a CD, that means that your loading times are going to be really bad. And so that's why all modern games have to spend an hour copying themselves to your hard drive, and you need a bunch of storage on your, like hard drive of your console. Otherwise, they just like wouldn't run.
Mm-hmm.
Wild stuff. Who knew that technology has to have a way that it works?
Amazing. There's been some reporting about Xbox has been apparently looking into a way to allow players to digitize their physical collections. And so I am very curious if Sony, and this feels like something they should have announced at the same time as announcing they weren't making discs anymore. If they are going to come up with some way that players can digitize their physical collection, or if they're just going to say, Lamau, buy The Last of Us again.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting to consider. On one hand, as a PS3 owner, we didn't always expect that our games could move with us from console to console.
That was a big deal when the PS4 came out and wasn't backwards compatible, though. People were very upset about that.
I know, but the PS3 is also not, like, only the very early PS3s were backwards compatible. I'm just saying, again, we've gotten used to that. It's now been a decade of us expecting that, so I'm not saying we can take it back. But I will say that, like, until the PS2 was backwards compatible, and then stuff really wasn't again until the PS5. So I do think that they have some ground to stand on of just saying, well, if you want to play your PS5 games, play it on a PS5. Now, I'll counterpoint that by saying I watched a YouTube video. I do not remember what the channel is. I will look it up while I talk right now. But I watched a YouTube video about PC games from the 2000s, Tech Tangents, where he was basically like, because all of these games have, server-based DRM on them, even if you have an original computer, like, he's like, I'm someone who's like, I have all this original hardware. I like playing games on the original hardware. I have the original copies of them that I bought. I'm playing it on the HP computer, Windows, whatever version that it would have been on, but I can't play it. I can't play it on my original hardware because there's no way for me to install it anymore. And, like, many of those games have ways that it's like, oh, you can redeem it for a Steam key, or you can do, like, this, mod workaround on a modern computer. That was interesting context fear for me into the sort of like, well, just keep your old system, because there's lots and lots and lots of ways that can, especially with all these kind of games that need online checks, that even having the old system is not enough.
Mm-hmm. So it'll just be interesting to see, I guess, what the third-party emulation machine maker companies do.
It does seem like there should be a business boom opportunity there.
I mean, it's tough because, we're talking about, like, vinyl. I know there's, like, different kinds of vinyl technically, but you can buy a vinyl player and be able to play lots of different vinyls.
Yes.
On it. And there's vinyl players that play various types of, like, can play multiple types of vinyls, I think, too. I think that with, like, a specialty market for games, you'd probably have to buy a lot of different devices. That's even how it works kind of now, right? You can buy your analog pocket to play your Game Boy games, right? You can buy your analog, whatever the other one's called, to play your Dreamcast games, right? But you have to buy different things to play different types of games. So I would have to buy my my analog play pocket to play my PS5 games in the future, and also the Switchy to play my Switch games in the future.
Well, for what it's worth, Nintendo does not I mean, the Switch 2 has a keycard port. So Nintendo does not seem to be moving away from physical games anytime soon.
I mean, they're not going to release the Switch 3 at least for a few years, for
exactly.
Sure. So,
I hear what you're saying, but I also think in this era of, basically total cross-platform. So if I'm making my, Play Pocket 6, right? Which is I mean, I don't know if you could, like, could you do this legally? I don't know. But, like, if I've made basically competitor console that is emulating either PlayStation or Xbox. And
yeah, I don't know how I know that people sell things that are advertised as being able to play, like, Game Boy cartridges, right?
No, whatever. I know that. I know for retro stuff, and then, like, that's fine. That, that's allowed. I'm curious about how, if you get into different hot water with, like, something that's currently on the market, but like
it's not, like, legally retro. I guess if they're not actively selling it, but, like, for a game, like, I can't I can't make a copy of something that they're not actively selling still on a game level. So I don't really know how it works either.
It basically seems like what you'd you'd want to be selling or potentially be selling, and this would be a real gamble, is you're making a system that either, functionally emulates the PlayStation 6 or the Xbox
Helix.
whatever, they're not
Project
making another
Helix.
thing. A Project Helix, thank you. Helix box, Xbox Helix, whatever. And then you're going to third-party developers, and it doesn't really matter which one you emulate, frankly, because you're not going to get the first-party games on that system.
But if the point is to be able to play the disc.
Well, what I'm proposing is what the market is for is third parties who still want to sell their things on discs to whales. Like, there has to be a console that does that, and they have to print CDs specifically for that.
So they have to make a console that can read all the different types of discs?
No, well, it doesn't really have to, right? So if PlayStation and Xbox are not making disc anymore, it would just be discs for the, Madelyn machine.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was thinking of machines that play retro games, essentially.
Right.
Like vinyls.
No, but those exist. That's the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, but it's still a retro tech. I don't know.
That's true.
They've not changed how vinyls work since they invented vinyls.
That's true.
But
what I'm saying is, I don't know
that's just a new console. That's not a...
Well, I know, but why would I need something that does that if I can buy a used PlayStation 5?
Because they will stop existing eventually.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yes, that's true.
I'm thinking more like in 50 years.
Oh, I see. I gotcha. I was like, right now I don't need that.
Yeah.
And even in 5 years I don't need that. So yes, you're right. Yeah, the real reason that the most perhaps nefarious reason that it's really bad, right, is it gives Sony a total monopoly on everything, right? Both on the prices that they are able to charge for games. I mean, again, you can sort of make the argument, I guess, of like, well, maybe someone could sell it for cheaper with a physical card in there, but like there won't be a used games market anymore. They have a total monopoly, and they're already being sued for like the PlayStation Network store being a monopoly. I have no idea as to the validity or when chances
it's a very, very friendly. I mean, it's very friendly for Sony right now, I assume.
Sure. I mean, even in a less friendly environment, I have no idea as to the validity or enforceability of those lawsuits, but they are out there. And of course, the most kind of ominous thing is, as we all know about everything now, you don't own anything. You own a license to it. And if the only option is to purchase something digitally, then there's no way to own anything. At any time, Sony can say, this is gone.
Yeah. And, I mean, having gotten my library degree, I do think there's a very interesting problem right now in terms of, like, games are very desperate, I think, not to let libraries have them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's an interesting question of, like, if books were invented now, I also think that publishers would be very desperate not to let libraries have them. It's been tradition since the Greeks.
Alexandria, probably earlier.
So there's no way out of it for the books now.
Yeah.
But, libraries can have consoles, sometimes to rent, sometimes available in the library. They can have discs that they buy sort of individually. There's not really like library stockers the way there are for books. But there's not really much way to digitally lend out games. And, there's various problems with the way that ebooks are handled with libraries right now in terms of how expensive they are. But they've managed to find ways to like digitally share books, movies through stuff like Canopy, services, all this sort of stuff digitally. But games, no. They say no. You will not. You're not allowed to.
And it's interesting because it does feel like something like a Libby for games shouldn't be that technologically difficult.
The problem isn't really the
Oh, I know
technology is
that.
one
I
problem.
know that's not the problem. I'm just saying it in this, because now, like, maybe you could have argued 5 or 6 years ago or whatever that it's like, well, that's not really, like, there's no real method for sharing digital games. Like, we just don't do that at all. There's no way to do it. That, I'm sure that wasn't true then, but like maybe you could have argued it. But now they all have this like, oh, you can kind of share it across family, like sort of lending capacity on these systems now. So it doesn't feel like it should be that big of a stretch to say there's a way to connect it to a library thing and you get it for a certain amount of time, blah blah blah.
Yeah, but the industry in general is so copyright touchy.
Yep.
And every time that they've asked even for an exemption for like academics, the ESA has come out swinging against it. And of course, the ESA has no comment on Sony ending discs. So, useful entity for the companies alone.
I don't want to lead this by saying it's so difficult because it's not, but like they probably are right that any kind of library access to games would be used for a piracy kind of thing.
Sure.
And that's unfortunate.
But like every game's pirated.
I mean, yeah, that is the counterpoint.
I don't really think that the library would really open like so much access to it.
Yeah.
And I mean the thing is they won't even, allow for old stuff. I could see them being protective over like new releases, right?
Well, I think it would be wise to keep it, I mean, in the same way as the real goal of the DRM is to make sure it doesn't get cracked for a couple days.
Yeah.
Right? I would definitely see the wisdom of like, well, yeah, you shouldn't really be able to get the book from the library or I'm sure even with books when they come out, they aren't always at the library right away. So I could definitely see the wisdom in saying, well, it's not going to come to the library for 6 months.
I mean, just functionally, that might be how it works anyway.
Yeah.
In terms of actually mechanically getting it there.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it's just so like, they very much want to have control over all ability to play their games. And if you don't have the resources to be able to do that, then I guess they aren't interested in you. It feels self-defeating, but I mean, I say this about I don't understand how the business mind works.
Yeah.
But like a lot of this is like pricing out children. Right?
Yeah.
You're not going to grow a new audience. In 20 years, none of the 20-year-olds will be gamers. They'll be playing Fortnite on their phones only. It just feels like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I guess they don't have to think about it in 20 years. They have to think about next quarter.
That's correct.
Anyway, I was thinking about going through my physical collection and weeding it down a little bit, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe not. It will be an interesting time, the, PS5, PS6 overlap, right? Big moment for Limited Run, big moment for big moment for any of these kind of like boutique disc companies, I think, to potentially make a real killing.
Oh, like because they can partner with the bigger companies will be asking them for help.
Yeah. Or just in general. Like there's plenty of stuff that comes out. I mean, I guess Limited Run is only doing like their own stuff. But I feel like every once in a while they do like special edition things that you could get elsewhere. I don't know. I'm not usually getting those because I'm not usually into the like I'm spending a ton of money for a collector set. I will just get the game online. Or for the kinds of games that they are doing anyway. But yes, I think during this time when Sony is like, no more discs, but the games are still coming out for the PlayStation 5 that has a disc drive, it will be interesting to see what kind of market emerges and who is participating in it.
Yeah. It was very funny. I saw, God of War Law Free is coming out. And they posted on Twitter, like, it will have a disc. And then, like, one of the other accounts is, one of the, like, news accounts was like, they're coming out before 2028.
Yeah.
Soft confirming your launch date.
Seriously.
So anyway.
I guess I should use my GameStop $10 settlement soon.
Yeah. I love games.
Or I guess we should hope that Kojima can talk to the right person at Sony to get them to turn this around.
We gotta get Jeff on this.
Yeah, where's Jeff?
Jeff's cuddled in the corner saying, it's a great time for games. It's a great time for games. It's a great time. The industry is strong. The industry is strong. That's what Jeff's doing.
What percentage chance there is, do you think, that they announce the Vita 2 and they say, and it's got cartridges? And don't you all feel stupid now?
Like 0. If they weren't cowards, they would go back to the UMDs that they had for the PSP, but they're cowards, so they won't. Those horrible things.
Yeah, if they weren't cowards, they'd make it worse. They'd make it significantly worse.
The UMDs were tiny discs in plastic containers that had like a thing cut out so that the disc could be read as it spun. They made so much noise.
Bring them back.
Bring them back.
No, really look forward to, gosh, one of my favorite booths at PAX East is the used game store, where some of them have like their own little drawn things.
Covers.
Look forward to the explosion of Etsy markets for people doing like fake containers that you can put on your shelf.
Capitalism finds a way.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts on this?
Oh, it's bleak.
Yeah.
Never again will I get to go into GameStop and be like, do you guys have the new Katamari? And have them have no idea what I'm talking about. And really what this means is that I need to make sure that I need to deal with the stick drift on my Nintendo Switch.
Sure.
So that I can play more things so I can be ready to play Kingdom Hearts 4 on the Nintendo
I hate to break
Switch.
it to you. I don't think it'll be on the OG Switch.
You're wrong. It's all gonna look like what's the really date at E1?
Coded?
Yeah, it's all gonna look like Coded, but
I think they should make they made like the Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition.
yeah.
They should make one of those for Kingdom Hearts 4.
And I'll happily play it. Anyway, listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
Are you considering new ways to display your PlayStation physical discs with pride? Are you regretting ones that you threw out? Do you think that they'll walk this back?
No.
Can you imagine? They're not going to walk it back.
No.
Do you think if we kill AI that they'll walk it back? Do you think I should start a business illustrating fake disc jackets for people to buy for the low price of $19.95 plus shipping and handling? If you have thoughts on this or anything else we talked about this week, hit us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky at Talk This Podcast. You can also visit our website, www.talkthispodcast.com, where you can read all about the show, check out the games in the hat, and read our blog. But most importantly, if you enjoy the show, you ought to subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts, online on the app, Overcast, Pocket Cast, anywhere that you can find podcasts. You can subscribe to Talk This. Can you burn an episode of Talk This to a disc? I don't know.
Probably. Feel free.
Almost inevitably on one of those services, you can download the actual audio in a way that you could burn it to a CD. Not that your computer has a disk drive, but you could get an external disk drive and then burn yourself a CD of Talk This. This episode is probably short enough to fit on a CD.
Yeah. We give you permission.
Yeah. You're allowed. There's no DRM. Distribute it to your friends. In 2 weeks, it's Emma's side quest. But Emma, remind the good people what we're talking about next week.
For our old game, we're talking about Gears of War. And I think our new game was Mixtape.
Yes, it was.
Right? Okay.
Which is funny, because you can't burn a mixtape anymore.
Oh, man, I loved burning mixtapes.
I know. Emma was really good at it, too.
I mean, mix CDs. I never actually never made a tape.
Yes.
I'm not that old, but...
Yes. Yeah, Emma had some real, car CD bangers.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Well, that's this week's show. Thanks for listening. Emma, sign us off.
This week, I hope all your discs spin.